Randy Zucker from genConnect, joined by Robert Reich and Jacob Kornbluth. Jacob's the director, Robert's the star lead actor, the man of the hour of the documentary. So let me start with you, Jacob. Though there is actually no writer per se of the film. Current events really tells the story.
That's right. This movie was made because me and my friends were worried about what was happening to the economy. We were nervous. We had a lot of anxiety. We were worried. And I wanted to tell a story that sort of spoke to that. So we sort of turned the camera on this gentleman next to you and asked him to explain it to us, because I'm not an economist, and I wanted to make a film for people like me who aren't necessarily living every day thinking about economics and politics, but really think this stuff is really important to people's lives. So I wanted to make a movie that spoke to that.
Was there a particular current event that happened, a particular instance that happened that then said, okay, I need to communicate this to the masses?
Well, more or less the crash of 2008, when the economy really tanked, really scared me personally. And I was looking for a new story, some narrative to put that in and understand what was happening to me and my friends and all the concerns that we had about money and stuff. And Bob wrote a book called Aftershock that I read at that time that changed the way I thought about it. It changed the way I thought about the economy, and I asked him if he would be interested in making a movie about it.
And what was your reaction when Jacob approached you?
Actually, Jacob never asked me about making a movie. We sort of we kind of tripped into this. We had been making 2.5-minute videos on important economic issues, and they had been going viral. And Jake was interested in my book, and he said, should we explore the possibility of a movie? I said, sure. And then before I knew it, we were making a movie.
You're not just smart, you're funny. And in the movie, you tried to make sense of the economy in a way that everybody can understand it.
Well, look, the only way people can absorb complicated information, and I know this because I'm a teacher and I do a lot of kind of communication stuff, a public educator. The only way they can absorb it is if it's accessible, and there needs to be some humor. They need to be touched emotionally, whether that's humor or some other form of being touched emotionally. I think the genius of this man is that he just understands that intuitively, and I just can't get over what Jake has been able to do in this movie.
Let's talk politics for a moment.
Must we?
Okay. I have
right.
to with
yeah.
you.
Okay.
Is government to blame for what's been going on with the economy? Is government to blame for the widening pay gap? Is government to blame for what happened to the mortgage crisis?
Well, blame is a funny word. We get the government we deserve. Government responds to special interests unless the public is informed and organized and mobilized. One of the reasons for doing this movie is to make sure that people connect the dots. And for too often, particularly over the last decade or so, the public has been, I won't say sold a bill of goods, but the public has not been fully apprised of what's going on with the economy, and I think as a result, the frustrations that people feel, particularly after the crash of 2008, have been easily manipulated by demagogues on the left or the right, or ambitious politicians, or anybody who wants to kind of channel blame toward targets that are not really the reason. I mean, government is not to blame. Business is really not to blame. It's immigrants certainly are not to blame. China is not to blame. You've got to understand the system. We've got to change the rules of the system in order to change the consequences of the outcomes.
What do you want people to take away from the film? Question for both of you.
Well, I'd like for it to change the story or change the narrative about how people think about this. A lot of people hear the words of economic inequality or 99% or 1%, and they're bandied about without much understanding of what's underlying them. And I hope that this takes a lot of the anxieties people feel about the economy and puts it in a story, changes the narrative, because how we understand that story changes what kind of policies are on the table to fix it. And if we can change the way people think about economic inequality, then maybe we can change the way things like the government and education and healthcare and everything work.
Thank you, Jacob. You, Robert?
Well, we've been in partisan gridlock now for years, and I think people have, because of that gridlock, become extremely cynical about the capacity of our democracy to function. And yet that cynicism is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we are cynical about the capacity of our democracy to get us out of anything and come up with rules that are beneficial to everyone, then we've seeded the game. Then the game is basically up to those who are the most powerful, and they continue to create a game that is tilted in their direction. I think that feeds more cynicism. So what we want to do is get out of that by explaining what has actually happened, by giving people the tools to understand reality. It empowers people.
The film is Inequality for All. Everybody of all ages would be able to watch it, understand it, and for more videos, you can check out genConnect.